all to CDD. I'm sure some of you haven't heard about CDD, or all of us have. CDD is a non-partisan institution. We are an NGO and a think tank. We work in the areas of democracy, governance, basically political and constitutional governance. We work in the areas of economic governance, work in the areas of social inclusion and equity, and we also work in the area of justice, peace, and security. We have our office in Accra and Tamale, so we work across the whole country. But one thing that informs all the work that we do, really, is research. And so everything that we do is based on research. And we also do a lot of collaborations, a lot of work with civil society, organizing civil society as well to move agendas forward. So Afrobarometer is one of the big research that we do at CDD, which started in
we shall be back in a minute.
I'm just going to consider why I try to project it. So, Afrobarometer is one of our big projects started in 1999. I've had surveys in, it's a pan-African network, research network, really. It started in a few countries, conducting surveys on citizens' opinions, views, on governance, democracy, social issues, development issues, economic issues, really. And it has grown from just a few countries to now about 42 countries since 1999. It is in its 10th round of surveys. We started last year, 2024. And as I mentioned, so far we have had, we are in the 10th round. And how is it done, basically? We look at, in order to ensure representation, what we've done is that the sample is nationally representative across all the countries. And citizens of 18 years and above are interviewed. The interviews are conducted face-to-face, and we have a standardized questionnaire. By standardized questionnaire means that it's the same across all the countries. However, for each country, we have what we call the country-specific questionnaire, for which every country has the opportunity to add questions that are of policy relevance to them during that very round of surveys, so that they can ask citizens' opinion on it. So once it is standardized, there's also that opportunity where citizens, various countries can ask country-specific questions to it. Now, as I mentioned, Ghana's sample size is 2,400, and this allows us to have a margin of error of ±2 at a 95 confidence level. So one thing that if somebody took the methodology that we use for the survey, replicate it, and I must say that we use randomization, so it does not mean that we really interview the same persons. But when they replicate our methodology, then there's an opportunity of a plus or -2 in the findings that they will get compared to the findings that we have. So for Ghana 10th round of survey, we conducted it again last year, 2024. So when I said the nationally representative sample is drawn, what do we mean by that? So let's look at the sample distribution. This is the adult population is taken into consideration, and the populations across the various children also inform our sample distribution. The populations across rural and urban areas inform our distribution. So as shown, our sample mirrors the national population distribution of the country, both urban, rural, and in terms of regional distribution. So we tried already, so I hope I'm not blocking a lot of movements. Thank you very much. Sorry, apologies. So how was our sample distributed? The map shows the yellow box in the green map shows all the areas that we went to. Now I will say that the information allows that every citizen has in every location within each region have an equal chance of being selected or interviewed. So we went with Ghana Statistical Service after we get that. Now we went with Ghana Statistical Service to do the random sampling of their enumerated areas. Then we now go to field. It does not matter where that enumerated area that has been selected is located. We will get there. The only way we will get there is really if there's security issue, safety issue. And first of all, we really have local knowledge that when they get there, they get the local information. If they are advised not to enter, then yes, we won't go there. That's the only time that the sampled location would be replaced. Even that, the replacement takes another process. So this is randomly selected enumerated area. The only purposive thing for Afrobarometer sampling and methodology is the gender divide. So we ensure that we have an equal number of women and equal number of men being interviewed.
Yes,
So 50% of men, 50% of women are interviewed. That is the only purposive thing in our whole methodology process. Now, from the round 10 survey, we have 13% in terms of educational distribution of the sample. We have 13% of citizens who were interviewed not having any formal education, 20% primary, completed primary education, secondary 47%, post-secondary 19%. In terms of religion, we have 75% being Christian, 18% being Muslim, 3% being traditional or an ethnic religion, and then 4% indicated other religion. So before I delve into the main findings, there's one thing we usually do when we are conducting these surveys or even preparing towards the survey. We take record what is going on in the country to inform that at the time we are going to conduct the survey. And as of August last year, some of the things that were going on is the country landscape was really full of political activities. Flag bearers were announced, campaign manifestos launched, electoral commission released this new register. We also had the appointment of new electoral commission members, which even really brought about a lot of discussion. We also have the Parliament moving forward with the LGBTQ legislation with a lot of debate ongoing about it. We had issues of illegal mining and its effect on our water bodies. We had really issues around climate change because there were a lot of talk on the issue of less rain, drought, crop failure, and the shortage of water around those times that we were doing, preparing and also conducting the survey. Today, I'm going to, so with Afrobarometer, the thematic areas are enough. And as I said, the main thing is to bring citizen voices, give opportunity for citizen voices in the space of policy decision making. So the thematic areas are a lot. And during dissemination, what we do is choose thematic areas and then present, or else we'll be here all day and we'll not even finish. The questions are a lot. We have, if you talk of single questions, they're about 300, but it's the 100 standardized questions. But if you look at A, B, C, and all that, you can count 300 questions. Today we have here some of our field research assistants that actually helped us conduct the survey since we're coming to the region to disseminate. We wanted them to have a feel of what the hard work and sleepless nights they did last year, the results of it. So some of them are here with us. So today we'll be sharing on democracy, local governance, and climate change. And when we have a bit of time, we'll share 2 slides on government policies that were introduced and what Ghanaians want, whether at the time of the survey, whoever wins, what they should do with it. So I will start with the democracy. Let's start looking at democratic aspirations of Ghanaians. What are our preferences? What are our expectations when it comes to democracy? The findings show that there is support for democracy as a preferred form of governance in this country. The support is at 73%, which is strong. 7 in 10 Ghanaians saying that they prefer democracy. We have a solid majority. That's, if we put it in terms of numbers, approximately 9 to 10 rejecting one man rule, rejecting one party rule. And we have 62% also rejecting military. Ghanaians continue to support elections as a form of electing our leaders. This support has been strong and still remains at 8 in 10 Ghanaians, that is 81% as of 2024, that prefer elections as the form of electing their leaders. How do we want this to be done? Ghanaians continue to support, especially since 2014, we have about 7 in 10 consistently supporting and indicating that we should have multi-party competition in our Ghanaian culture. Again, when it comes to presidential term limits, Ghanaians strongly, and since it's been Act 2008, there is strong support for the constitutional term limit of 2 terms for the president. Should we have just one party or party government can talk and take hands over time? 6 in 10 Ghanaians, 62% say it is better for power to sometimes change hands. Now when we look at, okay, so what kind of governance are we expecting? How do we want to be viewed? there is continuous preference for accountable government. A government that would listen to what voters want, voters do, and do what they want, compared to a government that would do what they rather want, a leader that will do what they rather want. So instead of taking their own decisions, they should listen to citizens' views and do as citizens want. Ghanaians also demand representation of their elected leaders. Ghanaians want to prefer their elected leaders to listen to them. Thus, it is 5%. How about oversight? What are our thoughts on oversight? There is strong support and endorsement for rule of law in our government, especially President must obey the laws and the court, MPs must make the laws, and the President should also be monitored by Parliament officers. Now, you will notice a bit of drop when it comes to the monitoring of presidents by the Parliament between 2022 and 2024. However, this drop is about 3 percentage points. What do we expect of opposition? When elections are over and the party is elected, what should the opposition do? Should they accept defeat and cooperate with the government and help develop the country? Or after the election, opposition should monitor and criticize the government in order to hold it accountable. We have an increase in percentage. About 9% say that opposition parties should cooperate with the government comparing 2022 and 2024. So from interesting, we have 57% saying that opposition should cooperate with the government, and 55% saying that opposition in 2024 saying opposition should cooperate with the government. In summary, when it comes to our aspirations, a large majority of Ghanaians support democracy and reject authoritarian alternatives. However, there's a few majority say that they endorse a solid majority also endorse the rule of law and accept that the president must obey the court and submit to parliamentary oversight. Now, are we getting what we want in terms of our aspirations? Are they met? What are the basic supply of democratic government? When it comes to the extent of and satisfaction with democracy, while the percentages of citizens that say Ghana is a full democracy or a democracy with minor problems is high, there is a drop in the extent and satisfaction with democracy, especially when you compare 2017 from 70% to 49% in 2024. That's a huge drop in the extent of satisfaction with democracy. When it comes to views on democratic governance, what are their thoughts? A significant majority between 7 and 8. When you look at the chart, we have between 7 and 8, 73%, saying that officials who commit crimes often go we have 6 in 10, that is 62 and 62% say that judges and magistrates prioritize political influence over the law, and people are treated unequally under the law. A significant minority as well. We have 4 in 10% indicated that the president ignores the court, law, and parliament. However, if you notice from the chart, when it comes to ordinary citizens who commit crime or company, we have 20. 3% saying that, so that means that 50% says that they always get punished, but not people get punished for breaking the law. Overall, when you look at our demands, that is taking citizens, percentage of respondents that prefer democracy and reject other forms of rule, and also percentage of citizens who consider Ghana as a full democracy in terms of supply, a full democracy or democracy with minor problems. While there is support for increased supply of democracy, which if you look at it from 1999, it's really varying. There is a downward spiral if you look at this slide, there is a downward spiral in terms of supply, perceived supply of democracy, particularly from 2017 to 2024. And if you look closely, you will even notice that between 2022 and 2024, we have a 10 percentage point people who consider Ghana a full democracy, and as a reminder of NCD are very satisfied with the way democracy works. In summary, while perceived supply for democracy in Ghana have fluctuated over the years, satisfaction has declined by 29 percentage points since 2017. Assessment of the country's full democracy or democracy with minor problems has also declined by 20 percentage points since 2017. Majority also says that often and always officials who commit crime go unpunished. Judges and magistrates prioritize political influence over the law, and people are treated unequally under the law. Now let's move to local government. Remember when our former president said, be active citizens and not spectators. Are we active citizens? When it comes to civic activities, it's very low among Ghanaians. We have 15% reported having joined other civic request for action from the government. We have 7% that have posted about politics on social media or even various issues on social media, and 6% say they have joined the project.
How many children? Can you hear me?
Have we contacted leaders in our community?
Yes, I was saying to how many children?
Discuss an important problem or to share our views on development. The trend from 2024 again shows minimal change in how often citizens reach out to elected leaders and traditional leaders about an important problem in or media use within their community or even within the district. I read that. So they are all really about the highest 2 in 10, which is the assembly person in 2024. And traditional leaders is 40%. But if you look across board, or when it comes to the member of parliament, is really low, about 1% or even less than 1% outside the contacted. Yeah. Member of parliament or yeah, local political party officials. Then, how do we even get updates on issues that are happening in our community and in the country? Radio, television are the most frequent source of information for issues on politics, issues on governance among citizens. We have the newspaper and state. Internet is also 49% invested. Social media, but 49% indicate that we get information from social media frequently in a way. There seems to be the one thing we all like, we wait for 4 years and then show our thoughts on governance in the country. When asked if they voted in the last election, self-reported voting turnout, because turnout has indicated that 79% voted in the 2020 general election. And if you compare this to the Electoral Commission's voter turnout report, it's either the same or close, because that one was 79.5. It's really close on the South report turnout. So why are we not engaging? Is it a trust issue? Is it more than a trust issue? Is it a responsibility issue? In general, if you the trust question, we have a lot of institutions, but this list is for local governance and within our district. So this is just a long list of institutions that we look at. So on this list, we have NGOs, additional leaders, media, news from public and private media institutions being trusted. So we have overall 52% indicated trust, NGOs and CSOs, 42 indicating they trust traditional leaders, and then 41 indicating they trust from public and private media. The list, when it comes to trust, whether a lot or some are put together, then you will see that the member of parliament DC and then our assembly president. Do leaders listen when we share our views? Less than half. If you focus on the 2024, less than half believe that leaders often listen to citizens and try their best to do what they say. So we have less than half. Is that the problem why we are not engaging? And these numbers really, if you look at the numbers across from 2019 to 2024, the numbers are really not impactful. If you compare 2019, we have member of parliament 11% saying that they do their best to listen, 23% saying assembly members do their best for assembly members, and then we have 40% for are satisfied are they with the performance? They approve of the performance of their member of parliament and assembly. Now this approval rating, as I said, some of these slides just for the local government context, but we do have beyond just the parliament and then the assembly. So for this, the approval rating shows that majority between 5 and 7 in 10 rate their member of parliament and assembly members negatively when it comes to their approval of their performance. What Ghanaians view them on local government reforms, especially when it comes to representation. Two things. One, the NMDC and the local government council. So local government council, as you are aware, we have the elected card and we have the appointment card. But now they want all to be elected instead of one being appointed. And we only have about half, that is 48% saying that candidates should be allowed to stand on party platforms when it comes to local government elections. So this really shows that while there's support for local level democracy, there's a bit of exclusion when it comes to partisan participation in our local. In summary, about 1 in 3 Ghanaians say they join others in their community to request action from government during the previous year. Few say they have posted on social media about politics, and also a few, 6% say they have participated in the demonstration. Only 4 in 10 say traditional leaders, assembly members, or women. Assembly members often always listen to what ordinary citizens have to say, and only 60% say they are members of parliament. We take 1 metropolitan, municipal, and district executive elected, and all local government council members elected. But few prefer partisan political parties that come from local government. Now let's move from this quickly to climate change. From governance to climate change. When asked in their experience over the past 10 years, if there have been any change in the severity of crop failure, drought, land or soil erosion, flooding, mud or landslide, between 1 and 3 in 10 say the severity of crop, drought, flooding, land, soil erosion, land and mudslide have worsened over the past 10 years. When you zone a country in 3 in terms of ecological zones, savanna, middle, and coastal zones, those in the savanna zone tend to be more likely to experience crop failure and drought compared to those in the middle and coastal zone. So in the savanna zone, reportedly 60% of Ghanaians crop failure, then 54% said that be more severe. Awareness of climate change. 46% have indicated that they have heard of climate change. And if you look across the various demographics, you will notice that awareness is low among women compared to men, among rural residents compared to urban residents, among those who are less educated, such as primary, and those who have no formal education, and among those who have experienced high poverty. Let me explain the term there. So we have a question in Afrobarometer that assesses access to basic needs. So the question is how often have they gone without the treatment? And so we have water, food, fuel, tax income. So that is used to calculate an index that looks at their lived experience when it comes to poverty. So we have those who frequently go without these items combined, having experienced high lived poverty, and those who go without them sometimes moderate, and they low live, they just not so prepared, and then the low live at all are persons who have never really experienced it. So when you see it's used to measure experience, the level of experience. Is climate change making life worse or better? Among those who have heard about climate change, 69% believe that it is making life in Ghana worse. And if you compare it to 2017, when the climate change model was introduced, there is an increment in percentage from gone up from 56% to 69%. This reflects the growing recognition of the severity of climate change. The poor population, persons living in rural areas, men, and those who are less educated, and persons 36 years and above are those who are experiencing this severity most. What actions have they taken because of this severity? Between 1 and 2 in 10 report that they have reduced their water consumption, changed their crops and livestock type, reduced outdoor activity, and some have indicated moving to different locations because of climate change. If you look closely again, it really shows the modern zone again, especially when it comes to reducing water consumption, reducing outdoor activities, and changing crop and food, and then reducing their livestock. Those are the savannah zones. So the savannah, there are 5 northern regions. Then the middle is Bono, Ashanti, and then the coastal, so we have all the savannah. Among those who have experienced poverty or experienced poverty, and those who are not experiencing it. What is it like? Again, we have moderate live poverty, indicating that compared to the others, indicating that they have reduced water consumption and reduce or change the crops that and move to a different place compared to them. Who causes climate change? What causes climate change? We have the majority saying that human activities are the cause of climate change. That is 66%, about 70% saying that human activities cause climate change. 22% indicate that it is human and then natural causes, while 10% that is 1% or 1.5 saying that it's a natural causes. Who is responsible then? Majority believe that the people of Ghana, government, and businesses are responsible for climate change, causing climate change. That's 55%. We also have a 33% saying that people, businesses, and government in other countries causes climate change. Then who should be responsible for limiting climate change? Ghanaian citizens indicate that government and ordinary citizens should be responsible for limiting climate change. However, if you compare 2022 and 2024, you will notice that there's a bit of shift towards business and industry. 2022, 9% said they should be responsible for limiting, and 2024 we have 11% saying that they should be responsible for limiting climate change. Who should act? When asked this question, is it important for our government to take steps? Even to limit climate change, even if it means that it is expensive or will cause job losses. We have 22% saying that they agree to that assessment. 22% saying they disagree to that assessment. And then 71 saying that they agree that the government should take action. Again, 76% say that rich or developed countries have done good to cause climate change, and therefore should take steps to limit climate change. And then we also have 75% saying that rich and developed countries have done good, and they are mobilized to help Ghana cover the cost of adaptation. So if you look at it, everybody's responsibility, including the government, and government in Ghana and the government outside Ghana. And citizens are ready to bear the consequences in terms of loss of jobs or even the expense of it, if it means limited climate change. Views on policy response to changing weather patterns. There is strong support for infrastructure investment, that's 79. Renewable energy or solar energy, 69%. And pressuring rich countries to take action or provide climate change aid, 61%. And equally, 1 in 5, that is half, says that there should be a ban on 3% of OLU. However, citizens seem not to be particular about the proportion of electric buses or taxis, and even the policy required that we all use cooking stoves with clean water. They have heard of climate change. Among those who have heard of climate change, 7 in 10 say it is making life in Ghana worse. 4 blame climate change on human activity and the combination of human and natural processes. More than half say people, businesses, and government of Ghana are primarily responsible for causing climate change. Again, 7 in 10 say government must take immediate action to limit climate change, even if it is expensive or costly job loss. So now I have 2 other slides I would want to share and can pause for discussion. Okay. This survey was done in August 2024. Ghana was preparing for the polls. So the question was asked. This is one of the country-specific questions that we asked, regardless of which party wins the 2024 national election. The next government should continue to implement the following activities: PAC, planting and rearing for food and jobs, 1 district, 1 country, 1 village, 1 town, electronic transaction levy. While there is strong support for all the others, that is 3 SHS, starting for food and jobs, 1 district, 1 country, 1 village, 1 town, that is between 6 to 9 10 Ghanaians supporting that the next government should continue. There is also 8 in 10 Ghanaians who do not support the CDD. They do not want the CDD continue. This is the other slide. When it comes to protection of human rights, Ghanaians indicate that government is doing fairly well or very well when it comes to children's rights, women's rights, disability rights. And 38% also indicate that government is doing well or fairly well when it comes to the rights of different persons with different special qualities. Thank you. I'll pause here. Then we have our discussion.
All right, thank you very much, Nobis. Can we give a round of applause again? Thank you very much for sharing the Afrobarometer 10th round survey findings for all of us to interrogate. Because we want to manage the time, ideally after the presentation, people should ask questions. But I would like to rather be that because we want to really finish a good time. We'll have the panel reflections, and then when we come to plenary discussions, if you have questions, contributions, babies will be around to respond. Otherwise, when we ask questions now, we go to reflections, come back to plenary, So that was really the time. So just take note of your questions. If you want clarification, if you want to make a contribution, there's a whole slot for everybody here to share your views. So at this point, brother, I will urge you that we rather invite 3 panelists who will come here to share their reflections on what we have all just listened to, and after that we will all have to engage the data. As you can see, the presentation focused on 4 main domains. Now the part that she presented on democracy, what we say as Ghanaians about democracy, whether it's working well, it's not doing well, and all those things. So that's one block that we can look at. The other block is that local governance and participation. And that's when we're seeing issues of assemblymen, our MMPCs, and all those. So there was a bit of that. Then we have the session on climate change. And that part really hits me so hard. That 54% of Ghanaians say they have not heard of, nationally, we have not heard of climate change. When the thing is hitting us every day. Now we are going to the rainy season very soon, May, about. We will either complain of drought or we will complain of flood. And we say the Bagri Dam is going to be spilled and we are all running. And yet we say in our country, 54% of people say they don't know. So we will, that's quite interesting. Then the last bit was where she presented on the policies, the free senior high school, and the rest of them. So there are 4 major blocks, and when we get to primary, we are free to pick on each of them to make a contribution. As we said, this forum is not, this forum will not give us opportunity to interrogate every little thing. But the report will be available. You can download the report, and then on your phone, you can look at the sections that interest you, and you can drill it down and have more discussion with you. So before I invite the discussers, I'd like to acknowledge our team of young researchers who contributed to this work. Can you stand and clap for you? That one. Just give me a hand. Right, thank you very much. Thank you for supporting this from the northern part of our country. Thank you. So, a pleasure to invite Mr. Shani Mahama, who is the co-founder for CSIF, to be one of the discussants. Thank you very much. Also coming to, also joining the discussants, I have Abu Hamid Naibu, who is the head of planning unit, the Sacramento Municipal Assembly, is new. So you can see it's well represented. We have the CSO, we have the planner from the local government, and the last discusser is Mr. Gregory Titika, who is the lecturer with the Department of Peace and Security Studies, UDS. You're welcome. All right, so we're going to give them, we will spend about 45 minutes with them, at least 50 minutes each, so that we will have enough time for ourselves. We are not being greedy, but we also need to contribute. So they just going to have to share their reflections. So let me, I'll start with the first issue of interest. So the data we just see shows that majority of people in our country prefer democracy. 75% say we don't want to go back to the true rule. So that is huge. That is one of the key things in terms of democracy. But what is worrying is that from that data, it also shows that preference for military rule is increasing gradually. To the extent that we say 3 out of every 10 Ghanaians say they don't mind if this country is ruled by another person. So it's kind of a paradox, quite interesting. Well, but then so the numbers saying that the military will and get back, they don't mind, is also increasing. And one of it, when you look at the data again, from 2022 to 2024, the number of people who say if our political leaders are not doing well, the military should take over. I think we should take over. It moved from 40 to 51%, saying that if our leaders are not doing well, we shouldn't even wait to go for 4 years. Let's take them off, and the military can come and control it. And when you interrogate the data, what is very scary is that those people having this viewpoint are between the ages of 18 and 45. That is that age group that says, if our leaders are not doing well, and if there's a military takeover, they don't care. The youth, the young people are the people who are of that view strong. So I'm now asking our panelists, this is the paper. What is your reflection about democracy and the possibility of military incursions again in our country? I would like your reflection on that. Each of you will share your points on that. So let me start with you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, CDD, and the partners who are making it possible. I'm glad to be part of the panel, and I look forward to learn from what audience and what panelists will share. I want to start by saying that it is really interesting, especially from the DSP perspective, that there's very interesting data for us within the civil society organization to actually help form policies and take decisions. That is really impressive, and I'm very glad. A very interesting presentation, but that has left me in a space of reflection, continuous reflection, especially because of the very interesting data we have here. As a Democrat, I'm actually quite amazed by the fact that glad, if you like, to say that many Ghanaians support democracy, because I'm a radical Democrat, I love democracy, regardless of its weaknesses and so on and so on. That 70% of Ghanaians prefer democracy. That's really interesting. And of course, I also agree with the one, increasing numbers who prefer military rule in that context. So what got me thinking was the fact that many Ghanaians prefer democracy. Okay, and they want democracy to thrive. But if you look at the rate of participation, that is extremely low. Active citizenship. And that got me thinking, why so many people interested in democracy? And if democracy is about voice, if democracy is about expression, how come so few people want to take active part in democracy? Is it an issue of trust, as the presenter also asked? And for me, I jump to say that there's no doubt that it's an issue of trust. Because if you look at the trust chart, there's also very little trust to politicians, to parliamentarians, to assemblymen, and so on and so forth. I want to just end this for now and say that, have we lost 30 years of opportunity? Have we, for example, maybe, I would call it the greatest mistake we have made as a nation is to have local government appointment model rather than by election. Is it one of the reasons why we have
15 to 35 hours phone number Gmail.
And we do not have the interest in actively taking part? Is it because democracy is too centralized and too far away from us that we don't know how to take part? For example, I believe that if we have to elect our MMTC, many people will come closer to what matters to them and they will take active part. So yes, I leave that question open. Have we lost an opportunity? Have we lost the opportunity to have brought people along the last 30 years since we entered the democracy?
Thank you. Also that we could from the assembly, also and the member of government. From the assembly point of view, looking at the
Ghana,
Our democracy actually, the ultimate goal is actually to express government. And even from the data, you can see that satisfaction among the people is changing. So this goes to suggest that the democracy as we practice actually is not addressing the needs. So the people definitely will lose in the democracy. So because that is why the trend for military takeover is going up, and even the politicians who are entrusted with our resources to manage and after provide the development for the people. Actually, the politicians are living with us, and everybody knows what is happening. Because the politicians even tend to actually be serving the interests of their parties rather than the people. So if I vote for you, and after 4 years I don't see any change in my conditions of living, unless continue to talk, definitely as time goes on, we will lose faith because the expectation is that we actually need development. And the ultimate power as enshrined in the Constitution rests with the people. And the basic principle of the state policy actually indicates that the democracy should lead ultimately to the development of life. So, but as it is currently, the people actually are not getting the needed development. And actually, from this perspective, that is the main reason why many people still ascribe to multi-party democracy, but we are experiencing a downward trend. And then the quest for military takeover is on the way.
Well, Mr. Shani, let me just stay with you before I come to Big Glory, because you work with the District Assembly. From the data is very clear that the trust for assemblymen and the local government authorities where you work, the District Assembly, is very, very low. You work there. What is the problem? You're supposed to be having town hall meetings, engaging the people, and all that. And we are worried because you are the closest to the people, and if the trust for you is really low, then it's a bit concerned. Share a bit of reflection on that.
Thank you very much. I think what I said actually has a strong correlation with actually the low rating among the because the assembly members actually are the representatives of the people at the assembly, who are there to actually take decisions that will affect the lives of the people. So if, for instance, one at the assembly level, the assembly members go there, they select them, and they don't actually meet their expectations, definitely the trust that they have in the people will actually deal with. And there are many factors because the assembly members actually in themselves do not have resources to provide them. But in many cases, during the campaign, they actually promise more than they can provide. And that also is even extended to our parliamentarians. You are only there to, because the assembly, just like the parliament, is the place where you have the basic and the legislative and executive power. Because you are only there to take decisions, you don't have any resources that actually will provide the thing. So if in the end you are not able to provide what actually will promise the people, definitely the ratings will actually go up. Right. And the second aspect of it is that the resources that are actually also made available for assembly, the General Assembly for Development is dwindling, be it from central government or development partners. So assembly prepares an annual action plan, and at the end of the year, less than 50% of it is actually implement due to resource constraints. Then we don't actually, because of the resource constraints, we actually do not actually carry out our mandate to provide some feedback mechanisms to the people. So the people continue to expect what actually we put in their plans, but in the end they don't get it. And then the feedback is not coming, which actually endangers the participation of the people in local government. So these actually are the area of issues that actually is contributing to the low rating.
All right, thank you very much. The jury is out there. So he said they are not, there's a budget. Understand there's a difference between budgeting and releasing, right? So you can have the budget, but what is released may be different. All right, so right. So you also have the opportunity to talk about this. We, democratic country, but we still worried that the threat of military takeover is not completely out of our way. That's what the data is saying.
Thank you, Chris. First of all, I want to thank the excellent output. We're following the Afrobarometer for some time. I think the findings for government in terms of policy reforms, in terms of policy development, it's good for academia, in terms of federal research. We can rely on the data. And then CSOs. I mean, most of the CSOs here are policy advocacy organizations. And therefore, you rely on data to do your advocacy. So instead of spending money in conducting research in similar areas, you follow the already existing data to do your advocacy in terms of your area specialization. Okay, let's come to the issue of democratic governance. 73% prefer democratic governance as authoritarian because they have choices to make. They are able to choose the party, the leader that would lead and rule on behalf of us, the citizens. In all the, when you look at the Constitution of chapter 1 or article 1 of the chapter 1 of the Constitution, it says that the sovereignty of Ghana is in the citizens of Ghana. So what does that mean? It means that whatever decision or policy decisions that any government is in place to take, it should be in favor, it should be in response to the needs and aspirations of the citizens. If a government is in place and then through the message they are giving to citizens by way of their manifesto, and then after a few years in government, you are not able to respond to most of the needs of these citizens. By all means, the citizens should be notified because that is the means by which they decided to vote democracy. So while there is, I mean, they know that the 4-year term is long to be able to ensure bad government. Then the next alternative is okay, should a military takeover happen, then this bad governance with a bad government system will move out, and then they will be able to respond to the issues. When you look at the development of plans and budgets of this country, they emanate from the lower level. It is the budgets of the MMPs that go to support at the national level to develop the national level budget statements and economic policy. So with the plan that national government fits these aggregated plans from the MMPs. So if these budgets and plans represent the needs and aspirations of the local people, and then we further move on to guide the national level plan and budget. Then it means that if government is in place and they decide to implement what they prefer to be the needs or aspirations of the people, then it frustrates citizens. That's why they decide that, okay, enough is enough. Let's see whether, then they start to take of the military rule as the next alternative. Yeah, so these are my thoughts.
All right, thank you very much. Finalists for round one. There are so many areas we can touch over because of the time constraint. We are not able to. In fact, the issue of the military takeover, I mean, the recent good work of the president, Buhari, is beginning to give the message to some people that, look, military government is not bad after all. Because the young man has managed to indigenize the natural resources, they are mining, is now in the hands of indigenous people, rather than the foreigners that were enhancing their resources, and we have done a lot of work. So, but let's not look at one example and say military government is not bad after all. The disadvantage probably will outweigh the advantage. So let's also touch on an interesting area that came out that says 6 out of 10 people in our country feel that our courts are not fair. So what it means that depending on your clout, your education level, or your political leaning, or connections, or your status in terms of wealth, you probably will have a fair hearing in our courts than the. So basically, there's no equality in terms of decisions. You look at other considerations have to play in adjudicating cases. And in fact, when I looked at the platform with the parameters, and people were making the examples where one case where a judge in Ghana, when they were taken to a different jurisdiction, the results were different. So these are some of the considerations. But we also hear from you panelists, what can we do to have a fair judicial system so that if I take my case to court, I will get a fair hearing, not just looking at my status and my connection. I want to hear your perspective on judicial system and our court system. A lot of people don't want to go to court these days because they feel the court is not being fair in terms of the process of adjudication. All right, I'll start with Greg this time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That is very funny. We have 3 arms of government which are supposed to be separated in the government. But we have a very strong executive government which has infiltrated other arms of government. Because the executive president has so much power in that I think it applies almost everyone. And also to control the resources that even the others will have to draw. So in the end, the executive has created the other arms of it. And the judiciary that was our last week actually is not resolved because it's still the executive that actually provides the lifeline of the judiciary as well. So there is suspicion. Even we currently have 2 parties who even anytime one of them is but the others will take it. So it means that there is something that they are doing because if you actually that he who slaughters people fear to ride flat on his back. Because if for instance you were doing something untoward with maybe the judiciary, now you are out of power. Possibly you might be suspecting that the opponent is doing same. So in this very instance, the the trust in the judiciary has actually weakened. And we have seen, not even to talk about parliament, because even our parliamentarians are politicians who are actually fighting for the interests of the people. And you look at our courts, which actually are very expensive. Our lawyers are very expensive. The poor man cannot even get a good lawyer to actually adjudicate his case in the court. And our legal aid system is also very, very weak. So it's better to don't even try. And then the political class that actually have carved out our laws have created a loopholes that even they can escape. Because even as we are in the assembly, all what we are doing at the assembly, we take the ultimate responsibility, not the politician. Everything you have to, the coordinator will sign, and all what not, is the spending of, and the way the laws are covered, you are actually the problem. So all these imaginations have gone a long way for the citizenry to lose trust in the judiciary. And many of the cases that go there have been political. And anytime there is any judgment, people look at it with political lens. So what do we do? So in this case, we are going through a constitutional reform. For me personally, we need to see how we can reduce the executive powers of the president. That actually will give independence and autonomy to the other arms of the government, such that they can also operate independently. If not until this is done, then the other arms of government will always be under constant pressure of the executive president. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, sir. So, very interesting question. Again, I think it boils down to trust. And maybe the academics will say, social capital, where trust, the measure of it is that. How much trust do we have in our system? There's an American philosopher who wrote a book, Making Democracy Work. Robert put down at and he went to Italy and he studied, law and Islamic, to see how when democracy really works. Democracy cannot work when democracy cannot work when there are no norms. Norms such as mutual respect, such as I don't lie, not because somebody is watching, because it's against my personal. So if we are able to cultivate this norm, if people are able to take on this norm, they will not lie. Whether the president is too powerful or not will not solve it. What is a better issue is if you are a lawyer, if you are a judge, what will you be judged? What are you limited by? What guides your judgment? Is it fear of God? Is it your personal law? Or is it to put it somewhere? Can the Chief Justice resign if the president's power is too much? So I think these are areas, especially at the civil society, that I want to encourage. And civil society has a better role, and in the presentation we saw that at least there's a bit of hype in civil society. So civil society should build on that and increase trust. Educate people, make them aware of certain things, make them want to act. For example, if the church has made a wrong mistake, why are people quiet? Are they happy? Can citizens come out to revolt? Can they come out and protest? And until we come out and we protest against some of these policies, it's going to be business as usual.
All right, just stay there before you mentioned citizen. I'm going to the indicator was that it's very low. I mean, people want to be here. People don't want to participate, to demonstrate, and to be against something. So from your point of view, why is this one they are afraid of population, or why? I mean, we get the lights off, on and off, all of issues happen. Why would people call for people to come out to use non-violent mechanisms to express, and people will not sure? Because that is what the data is saying.
So it's also very And so, because people are not listening, people say, well, you know what, we negotiate, there must be nothing will happen. You understand? But they have forgotten that we should stay outside and demonstrate for 40 days, and people will listen. I think there's something in Ghana. Let it be. It is what it is. What can I do about it? And until we change that, something is actually nothing is going to happen. But allow me to push it a little bit to those of us. The middle class. The moment you have a job, it's a permanent job. You have a salary that is well paid. You can buy yourself. You have a house. You can buy yourself a car. You have your wife and your child. Put a wall around it. Your mission accomplished for you. If they call for self-demonstration, we are the ones not going to take part. We expect the poor people to take part. These are very important things that matter to them. The next bill, but not one. So, wherever they were, everybody they were, things that have changed policies are the middle class. In Ghana, it's the middle class that has let down the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's do my hand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. So I have to the appointments of members of the bench is largely influenced by the president. So in that case, there should be clear procedures and processes in terms of the appointment of members of the bench. Why? Because if any president or any sitting president wants to increase or wants to appoint members of the bench from the magistrate to Supreme Court, the person will not go outside those clearly stated processes and procedures. Two, I would think that there should be a system or a committee of even peer review of some of the judgments of these judges and magistrates. That we are able to review and hold them accountable for the judgments that, I mean, some periodic review. When judges and magistrates know that their colleagues are going to peer review them, or there's a committee that does periodic review of cases, then it will also build the confidence of citizens that judges are not just there to favor the political class or move out of the law to punish ordinary citizens and then favor politicians. These are the two recommendations I have that I think will build confidence of citizens in the judicial process.
all right, thank you very much. So we will go 2 rounds and then we'll come to the preliminary for all of us to continue. So let's go to the issue of climate change. Climate change is dear to all of us. It's an essential to all of us. And so for this Afrobarometer finding to see 56% of Ghanaians say they have never heard of climate change. Well, we are not questioning the data, but it's quite worrying. Even also the fact that the trend, the data shows that those who said the impact of climate change is becoming more severe on their lives. It's increased from 56 to 69%. And also interesting from the climate change component was the interesting view of the respondents. 75% said, to address the issue of climate change, let the rich countries provide aid to Ghana to fight climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, the rich countries will not provide any aid to fight climate change. President Trump has already given you the example, right? And he has also withdrawn from the Paris Agreement. And then USAID and the rest of them, they were supporting some climate change adaptation mitigation strategies. That's the funding. So we can, that's fine, you know, that's what it said, but practically, I think because of action, asking rich people, rich nations to help give money to Ghana to fight solutions is not likely to happen. I think we should better on our own start looking for adaptation and methods, whether agroforestry and the rest of them to contain our issues rather than looking to get in from outside countries. The last one of climate change, which I'd like you to comment on, is also the fact that 5 out of 10 Ghanaians say they should ban charcoal, fuel roots as one of the strategies for preventing the effects of climate change. You know, so these are few
Brian,
things.
give me one.
A lot of people don't know that climate change, and from the data, charcoal burning, carbon trees for fuel wood to be banned by 50% of our respondents. And the fact that we still think that the new countries will send us aid to be able to act on our climate change, nationally declaring contributions. So these are the things of climate change as to what is the way forward. And then after that, we'll take one last round. Then we'll go to
That's fine.
I have not been able to know anything about climate change. What I'm going to do.
No, thank you for having me. Yes,
Now,
yeah.
I think many of us
Give me close up.
what is climate change about? A lot of people don't tell us that they have never heard of climate. So I think we should find local concepts that are feeling local people in our quest to bring awareness around that. And to see that we are I think we also have to that affect our orientation around that. Even though the figures was not very high, but it's still high number of people who thought that parents. I think we should look into that. And then I also want that, you know, the idea that let's just transfer the responsibility to the government. Let them send that to the and it should don't send out all the money to the but let me do how do I dispose of that? Just a shame what I think. How do I dispose of I know like nobody did. Okay. And then how do I somebody sending money to collect that? So I have the rule. If you want to go and you find that that too. So I think we should figure out how role in addressing climate change. And I think that we can do a lot if we figure out what we do individually and collectively.
Thank you very much. Okay, so on the issue of the after that, I think perfectly to discussing the issue of actually communicating and understanding. Because it's like our education and our actual approach to climate change has not been well coordinated. Because the people we actually deal with, many of them are people who actually attend to the medical commons to end with, in the end, to prevent the environment. And how do we communicate with them so that they can understand that very well this action that actually has contributed to it and provide them alternative language. And this actually, with the education, we have a policy and a legal framework to ensure that the environment is well protected is the actors in the fight against the land liquidation. Even just look at it. That I'm saying that actually we are actually playing ball. So if not until we have a very coordinated approach, let's look at Burkina, our just at our house. Burkina that actually is very closer to the desert. Understand is now cleaner than Northern Ghana. Just because they have a coordinated approach and the legal framework is working enforcement. Because here we are people bend bones and nobody can. But understand in Burkina when there is a good violence, if the chief now be arrested. So the chief makes sure that no bush burning happens in this community. But in Ghana now, what actually we put in place? And all these things actually are not working. So for me, I think that we should have a coordinated approach and actually speak very well the language that people understand and actually share with whatever. And with regard to the big countries related from handout, at least not just related, but there are opportunities out there. We have carbon credit that actually even through our mitigation measure, we can tap into to benefit and which will continue green resources and conserve our environment. Because if you are able to conserve your vegetation, you can use it as a carbon, not necessarily going for. So you have a two-way after you get the resources and you conserve your environment. And this after if you actually tap into the resources that come with climate change globally, I think we will go a long way to solve our problems and also provide resources for other development. And banning chapel. For me, I think that we have a policy backtrack in Ghana. How do you ban chapel when on daily basis gas prices are rocketing very high? Because that is the immediate alternative that actually people will have if actually they don't get the chapel. So if we are trying to ban chapel, not necessarily ban it, if not actually we may provide alternative. And not just chapel, there are now very basic technologies that can turn other even waste materials into chapel. Not necessarily going to tell the trees actually enter. And if it are done very well, as I indicated in the coordinated manner, which even will be very cheaper and easier, our people will readily adapt. And we have the resources available all over around. Grass that you can even tell. Yes. So for me, we actually introduce our people to this alternative and make them cheaper. Because as human beings as we are, if I find chapel far cheaper than gas, I will readily go for chapel. But if gas is made very cheap for domestic consumption, I believe many people will move into the use of chapel instead of gas rather than chapel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right. I was going to ask you this from the history of Tamale, whether they have climate change. No, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
Yes, actually, if the analysis has happened every year, we break climate change now. That is always on the paper.
Right.
But translating it on the ground is another thing.
All right.
And to meet certain criteria, definitely you provide them, but rarely are they actually translated in the community.
All right. Thank you. All right.
So just to say that I'm not satisfied with climate change, but said already, I agree with them. If you look at the data presented, majority of the people are not aware of climate change. It's simply there is a gap in that. The gap because if you want to be able to see that policy implementation, then the awareness and education of the citizens is critical. We don't implement something that is supposed to involve citizens, and citizens are not aware of that particular policy. At the end of the day, you will not get that support. What is climate change, as they said? It is big to them. They would not even know some of the practices and activities that they are undertaking is contributing to that. And what are some of the things that, for instance, the past government every year undertakes in the communities? Why are you planting? I mean, if some of these policies or activities are understood by the citizens, then it promotes ownership. Communities will not wait for government to come in there with certain policies or activities to help mitigate the climate, the issue of climate change. Communities will own up, even undertake rather than own tree planting exercises. Communities would make sure that there are measures to curb the felling of trees. Sometimes I do along certain communities, and as they come start, you look at shared tree. It takes so many years to mature. And then within a second, it's not done for fighting, for jumping. And then you are losing the economic value of that tree. You are also exposing the ground or environment to this erosion and that climate change. So I think it's important that citizens, and it's not just on to us, we are CSOs here who are in the policy advocacy. Take up some of these issues to see how citizens can be educated, how awareness can be created, issues of climate change.
Thank you very much. So we have 5 minutes for that now, and it's very brief. The data says Christian High School maintained one grade, one factory maintained, another one planting and rearing, planting for food and rearing for jobs. You know, so Christian High School 25%. Planting for food and jobs, 51%, one district, one consistency, one thing, one that 60% of our country's people say, for me, I'm very passionate about education. You see, because that is why one of the panelists mentioned that we can do that. Because they have just maximized their water resources. Why do we all the water bodies flow through the Gulf and then end up on the sea? Why can't we really do a lot of good work? There is data that has been done, it's been published by the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority and SADA NDA. The data is sitting there. That shows that there are 104 small and medium-sized water points that can hold roots irrigation facilities for irrigation, up to each of them about 100,000 hectares. That is how much they can irrigate. And then the work is there. And it's been done, professionally done. Why are we not using this? And we are struggling. We farm for 4 months, and 8 months we are sitting at idle. When all these resources are. So, but I want quick, just 1 minute each. Our Daniel said these policies should be maintained. We are researchers here, we are NGOs, we are government officials, we are not doing politics here, but just your government opinion on the data on policies that should be continued by the current regime.
Okay, I think the citizens have seen this policy to be, or they appreciate that these policies would play a very key role in terms of uplifting and improving their lives. Planting for food and jobs, running for food and jobs, one village, one town. All these are policies that in a way would help provide alternative livelihoods for majority of citizens, especially within the local areas. And therefore, yeah, looking at the policy in itself that bring about change. But in terms of implementation, I think that is where the issues are. They agree that these policies are good, but how have these policies been implemented to actually create the needed impact that they have been developed for? Are these towns in the villages they functional, or they have already dried? The planting for food and jobs, is it functional? The small scale farmers being able to access some of these like fertilizer and other inputs to be able to have food here. Are we getting animals that we are able to rear and be able to sell and take care of other aspects of our lives? So they have seen that these are policies that would inure to their benefit, and then at the end of the day, improve the lives of the people of the community. But these policies are some challenges that will not really kind of like yield the expected results they have been so.
All right, thank you very much, Graham. So briefly on that,
indicating that we actually have the policies that are reflecting the values of the people, but the implementation of them. A friend told me that he's always happy when the politicians are busy instead of copying each other's manifesto. That because our problems are the same, definitely the manifestos will be the same. So that is the meaning of it. So these policies are actually reflecting the needs of the people. That actually is reflecting in the survey report that we. But at our assembly, it's very common. Many of these policies, they are implemented, and you can't even see the policy document. There is no policy document. So you start implementing the policy without a policy, a manual for the implementation of that policy. Then right from the word go, the policy is bound to fail because you can never implement it. So usually that is where the citizenry agree with the policy. I think the state has not gone further to see whether they are actually satisfied with the way it is implemented, which I know would have been a big deal. Because like the one place, one dam, the facilitator has actually alluded. It was done only once with some challenges. They will definitely, but as the challenges come, we find it was fortunate. But then the ones before go down was in that ended. And I have a trouble to that in South Africa, the policy is that no river to empty its water to amount to waste of resources. And here we are, all our rivers empty their water into and we are trying for water. So it means that when the government comes with a policy, it actually is not left to the federal class and the experts to sit down and design the implementation manual that actually will be at the level of the expertise. But our policies are political tools and they are implemented politically. So in the end, the people don't drive the benefit. So I actually is looking at the day that these policies actually will be designed very well and actually implemented to the benefit of people. Very well.
Thank you very much. So now
Can you
discussion.
maintain?
So I just begin in that space of reflection and wonder. I mean, if these policies are so popular, how can we
Why give me one? Give me one of them. Give me one of them.
So probably it's Finland
Give me one of them.
to adopt these policies and implement them well, so that they can stay in power for them. This is not political. So I just want to say that yes, and when some of the challenges are not a challenge that we can actually kind of exaggerate the definition of an income. Like we're talking about chapel, innovative ways of doing it. If we can find ways of doing it, not using, what we call it, brass, compress it and use that to make it's not an industry. So sometimes we think industry should be this giant building with, machines and blah, blah, blah. But if you're not thinking about an industry in the local account, it's probably a cotton something where the farm cotton, add value to their cotton and sell it abroad and so on. So probably we need to figure out what is it that we want, what we need to do. That is very, very relevant for this discussion. And I'm not sure if that was part of the last slide. The interest that was part. And so I want to say again, I was wondering whether it was a lot of that we need to do that 30 years ago. So I would just want to stress that it's extremely important and it matters that who becomes an entity is determined by the people, accountable to the people, quiet or by the people.
Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
let's give them a round of applause. Thank you once again. Thank you to Mr. Shani. I'm always co-founder of CSIF. Let's give him a round of applause. We also want to acknowledge and thank our Habib Raibu, his head of planning, Minister General, Municipal Assembly, and then Mr. Lecturer, Department of Peace and Security, University of the So thank you very much for journalists. You understand. Thank you so much for your reflection. All right, so the rest of the 15 minutes or 45 minutes is for all of us here. We are free to. All right. So basically, you just raise your hand. You look at the presentation, every area, whether a mixture of FMDC to whatever. This one is free for all. But you want to please keep your presentation very short so that we can have as many people as possible to also reflect. All right, I can see anybody can help me with the mic. Any of the CDD staff. I also want to go around with the mic for people too. Okay, so give it to my brother in front. I think basically the name of the institution.
So my name is Abdullah Mohammed Awal. Another is Ghana Blind Union. So I would like to talk about the election of NSDP. I think I fully support the election of our NSDP because of accountability. We are all running away from accountability because we don't elect them. An MC has never told journalists that whether they criticize him or not, he will continue to take his stand. Just because we don't even get if not, if we were the ones who elected him, I was thinking about this state because we know that there was one day in come around to for the one and because we rather elect people rather blame them for certain things for the poor rules and water crisis, poor infrastructure and the lack of some basic rather blame them for those things and leave the MMDP then because we don't you are there supposed to be actually.
And he track the person there for free. You put the person for one side, put the person for me, Rahim. Put the person for me.
It shows that I think 5 out of them at the end show that persons with disability in our country, their rights are guaranteed.
Well, agree with that.
Disagree.
Yeah. Because
That is more common as well. So
the
we get a thing
disability
we know common for the mic. It's a laptop mic.
never into law implementation.
No, be.
We are still lagging with certain we are supposed to be following to we are not. Inclusive education. Before I plan down access education, I have to do that after the reading and the knowledge. Meanwhile, education is the basic one. I can't access education in my community. Outside the reading, before access education. So education was supposed to be brought to the doorstep everywhere. As the person was I will enjoy that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you very much. All right, so let's move.
Thank you very much. Also, my name is Austin, and I'm wearing the idea with maybe maroon from the tip of the hour. So, I want to add comment to the issue of the policy. And I think that several times thinking that these policies are rather made for our politicians to be looking for the next step. Really delivering on what people really mean. And I give an example. We work with a community called, I think, so in the project district, we have this dam construction done under the welfare local initiative. And that project was 159,000. That's the project contract. If you go there today and see, Robert, you will feel like because it was different within the community, it took back everything. And the near community. Then there was a one big one. That person is there within 5 days that killed them. And then the next week, the problem was rain. That community and that now, one, all of them, you know. So, and I think it's a very good idea, but it is the intention that we have behind these policies that is making the state. These politics have to make. And also what that one thing about the issue. I found very interesting finding. But think a lot about what impact people in it. Today we see that the people who trust CSOs most among all the people. And that's very important. Thank you very much.
Let's go for the CSO. Right. Let's make sure there's a little balance in the situation. All right, so I'm going to put up
Thank you very much. My name is Nima Tunisa. I want to do something on the community. I want to also add my voice to the call of Mr. Gregory and I think that this chunk of people that is outside the employment chain and educate people know about underground. If you look at climate change, for instance, there's so many reasons, even my own, that says that you can even use the wastewater to filter from and get food yield from what we call it, we get to this water. So it's something such outside there. Some of them make good use of it and educate other people. They are not got the resources for this research to come out and sell their ideas out. So if you are ever doing that, please go out there, go to the better back, you can get a whole lot of research work to be able to help people outside there. I also want to say something more about our panel. I really want to say that we have done very well, but looking at CDD material, taking into consideration gender, what they call it, sensitivity. I expected that there should be a female in what they call the panel of the future. It would be a perfect background. But if you don't
Yeah. I think she has a very strong point there. Those CBD, please take them. I'm more than motivated.
So the organizers can pay attention to that, including not only individuals, but there should be also what we call it, the people with disabilities to make a strong case out there. Thank you very much. The data shows a lot of people that how much the government has neglected specifically. So there's out there that the government should recruit more public health officers into them so that they'll be able to educate the people on climate change. And with regards to burning of charcoal, how many people can afford that after the charcoal is being banned? And I heard one of the discussions saying that using grass, our people would say that how long would the grass last when it with regards to this wood business? In this senior high and sea level, I think that this senior high should be really done. Because in my community, I think people with PhD and all those things attend this school. So why not why not make it free for those who are intelligent? Those who are intelligent and cannot afford. You are intelligent and cannot afford because we still aggregate 50 going to school and they go there and they become very poor. but they come out still with very good results, and they can't really defend those results. So it should be made free for those who are intelligent and cannot afford that. Thank you.
I can see one of my colleagues, Prof from the Faculty of Education now, is listening to you carefully and taking note of the comments of the inclusive education as well as the criteria for those things. I think you're always that's wrong. All right, so yeah.
So I am Mabi. One of them is the presenter why even though the concept of democracy that your presentation with Sabi energy apart from mentioning of Black people to the job program. Then secondly, I think the issues on participation in democracy. I strongly believe that the citizens are not having a platform that can help them to hold the political appointees or the local governance persons in the district accountable. So maybe, especially the panelists or discussed from Northern Regional Coordinating Council, I think that it should provide some platform for citizens to hold MSC. Then the last aspect is about the issue of recommendation. I was also expecting that the presentation to cover, to bring up some recommendations, but I didn't see most of the recommendations. It was just a key finding. But what are some of the recommendations from the findings of the survey? So these are the thank you.
All right. Do you want to respond? Oh, yeah, just take a note.
As I mentioned, there are a lot of thematics that we do consider. Yes, agri appeared at the point, but at this point, this particular survey agri was not a model. I don't know if the next survey agri could be a model. But the big models usually focus on democracy, governance, economic issues. Social issues would be where agri would feature. And we have models on gender, public services, access to public service, and regional public service. During the COVID time, we had a model on COVID-19. And we have a module in our 10 for youth. And so each time there are revisions around these modules, and hopefully we'll get a module on agri to discuss. But as I said, the questions are standardized across Africa. So what are the issues that you can really track across all the African countries? One of the things we can easily do is at the country level around agri. But at the time of the survey, when you're preparing for the survey, we started preparing for Ghana survey after late 2023. So we started tracking all the policy issues, and you have only 5 slots. So when the time comes with all the policy issues that you have tracked up to that point and you want opinion on, you have to discuss with civil society space, discuss even with government, and then you prioritize 5 questions that go to add to the other questions. I remember there was a time the Justice Ministry made us do a whole, that year our whole country-specific questions were on issues of security and peace. And that was the request. So those things usually we do happen. In terms of recommendation, yes, these are basic descriptive statistics we have shown here. We go beyond that. We do have policy brief. We do have what we call this practice. We do have working papers. Some of these recommendations are featured there. But the purpose of our dissemination are usually to share the findings and have the whole, the people in attending the event really deliberate and also start on recommendations further. Of course, some of the slides will really show what citizens really want, and that's their vision around the policy. For instance, what are their preferences or aspirations for democracy? It was really show they want an accountable government. That is a recommendation around the issues of right? And climate change. What are the policies that we want to take forward to limit climate change? Those are easy recommendations that we can look at it from that perspective. So bringing all of us in this room, civil society, academia, policy makers, and implementers, youth, students, persons with disability, was to discuss what the highlights of the findings are. And as I mentioned, it's a lot of questions. So you always have to make a decision on what to present at the time, not to overburden your audience, and also give enough room for a lot of discussions around it.
Well, thank you very much. So a few more and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you so much. My name is Tia. I am from Tamale College Education. I want to touch on democracy and the aspect of local government. It appears to me that democracy has become so expensive that we spend virtually all our resources in organizing elections at the expense of development. When it comes to election, you see people who are participating in this exercise spending so much money. Then immediately after that, our hospitals are without equipment, our schools are empty, virtually every other sector lacks resources to operate except election. Is that democracy? Number two, if you look at our CSOs, our chief executive officers of state-owned enterprise, they take so much in terms of immigration. Yet so many people are out there without jobs. And one chief executive salary can pay 100 people. They will give it to one person, leaving the rest on the streets. Is that democracy? Look at our local government structure. The structure was supposed to ensure that development is built from the local level. Yes, the district assemblies are there. The government at the center still give contract to people from Accra to come to the local level to implement. Then the assemblymen and women are there virtually to see the idea to what is coming from outside. The 30% appointed were supposed to provide technical services. They were supposed to be technocrats. Because in the rural areas, most of the assemblymen do not have capacity. They will not be able to intimate some of the issues that are done at the assembly. So the appointed members were supposed to be filled with high level capacity to come to support in building and developing policies and programs for the assembly to run effectively. Today, go to the assembly and see those who are appointed. They are party boys, chief representatives who are not capable of supporting. In fact, I am an assemblyman and elected assemblyman. You go and see, and those who are appointed to come and participate, they can sit there. At the end of the day, you all finish, you sign, and you go. What is the role of that segment?
You sign. What do you sign?
But you said attendance.
Okay.
Yes, you just said attendance.
I thought you said,
No, there is nobody there. Except from here to one to go and participate in assembly meeting, and they will give you a CNT of 100. And you cannot even pay for my TNT. So that's not the monetary aspect I'm talking. I'm talking about just showing there and contribute to that. So as a Center for Democratic Development, I want to recommend that you do more than just collecting data and disseminating it. Let's hold the governance factor, let's hold the system accountable to the people, since the people are not capable of holding them accountable. So that at the end of the day, we all get a benefit of.
thank you very much. So we're going to two or three. I believe in
Thank you very much. My name is Mama. I work with Dissemination. I'm on the evaluation of it. On the issue was Thursday, Afro is accountable. I think we as partners with CDD-Ghana, we have done several of these with their several assembly. 2 weeks ago, we held the accountability forum at Statsco, and then it was great. We are doing our best, but I think we cannot do more. They are doing their best, we are also doing our best, and definitely we are going to hold every person accountable. And then my question here is it's not a question, but the data showed that officials who commit crimes go unpunished. And then the issue is we give too much power to the president. There's so much power given to the president in the constitution. And then we are having a constitutional review of report. What are our voices? How are we going to get our voices added to the report? What do we need how to do? So instead of saying that what do we need to do in this constitutional report? Let's remove some of the power we are giving to the president. We advocate for that. What are the ways we can get our voices in? If this the reform would be done and then would still situations like this. If the government still have, let's say, 80% of the power, there's nothing we can do with all this. So I think we have to find ways to get our voices at the top. As for accountability, CDD-Ghana and Ghana is doing well because every other person at the local is accountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So let's do, yes.
In my first contribution, I want to highlight from aspect of climate change. One of our panelists asked whether there was a name in the band or maybe the local dialect to climate change, which I think is very full part, but don't see as far as climate change is concerned. In the band, we call it Savannah. Now we're at IT. One of our thematic areas is climate change. We work so much with the local community as far as charcoal is concerned. One of the said that there is a carbon trend, right? Look at the how global warming and that of CO2. It is a fact that that's the reason why the foreign countries are trying to help African countries for us to find climate change for our own existence. Because of these things, we call on ourselves, CDD and other institutions here. I imagine about climate change is relatively known by all, but the fact is that we need to have more advocacy around the issue of climate. And what we see to advocate. And again, I want to add my voice to the fact that the population, one representation of that, the numbers that were speaking to individual groups, right? We saw that there is a surge, crime is increasing. And I think our data was clear that in 2020, I think that if you look at the population from the completed census that was last conducted, it's clear that 38% of Ghanaians are youth. That means that the age group that was seeing military governance is what is dominating in Ghana now. And fortunately for us, look at what we are seeing in Burkina Faso. Torare is doing extraordinary. What is convincing the young people who have not seen the military in Ghana, not the people. So, but the advocacy, even at the local assembly level, is also important. Then my final comment I want to make, local governance officers who are there at the local level, they are part of the district assemblies are concerned. In fact, at the annual action plan that we came out, we have a project at IT, you have heard, that everywhere represented we have gone to a lot of the first people that action plan you are not provided. You are not provided for you to even know this what you are going to do. So if they don't do it, how do you hold them accountable? Then you say probably you get a green from them that the problem is always financing. But there's idea for the various assemblies. So I think that as CSOs, holding them accountable, we are followed to the point where assemblies are provided as even the account that we have, and you are able to hold them. You said you are going to do this at this time. Is it time? A lot of buildings have been constructed in Tamale. That I want to guide myself. Our policies.
So we are getting to the close. All right, the last two, please bring it home.
Il a fait on a pas mal de problèmes à faire. Il a fait on a pas mal de problèmes à faire.
After that, you one more place. We have 8 minutes. Thank you very much.
I'm the speaker of my democratic governance. We are talking about reducing the power of the president. I'm going to give one recommendation. For my view, one point of reducing the power of the president is to make the parliamentarians vote on independence without standing on the political party. Yes. That's why I'm saying this is that a government in power may be trying to commit a policy which the general public has going to agree, for instance, CDD. But they will to parliament, the majority will vote, and then they will carry it. So assume it. When this CDD was, put in motion, there were some ruling government party MPs who were not in support of it, but because they want to align with their government, they voted it. That's one point. Another point is that when the local level, there will be a constituency which is dominated by a particular political party. And somebody stands for that party, which obviously people know that he's not capable. But because he's standing for that political party, they will vote for him, knowing very well that this person cannot perform against another person who will have performed more better than him. But because his party is not, having majority in that constituency, he is likely not to win. And this is bringing, retarding our development. So I'm recommending to CDD in their next sitting, if they could have captured this point, to see the view of the general public. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. So, we don't, let's have to question. You, my name is Mama.
Very good. Because we want to be that we take it to the that was it.
if they can maintain how will it be? Example, one who will know how independent and be from. Secondly, when that is done, we know they can balance independent. But when you add how will they win? The issue of private and share government any other because any government coming to power will then try to influence everybody at the government, pricing them for the policy work. So that one, that's my technology will happen. For regard to Yes, okay. Yeah, like so now the money. Thank you very much.
My name is Awosolu, and the democratic aspect of the story. And being a little bit skeptical, I would have, seen myself in those who advocate the political. Yes, it's like this our democracy is being jeopardized by the political class. And you hardly seen political parties coming to position for nationalistic issues. Everybody tilts towards their political party. And that will not bring development to this issue. And so, left to be, the little takeover would have been something that would have put things in the right perspective. Again, I would have wished that we put the judiciary. For instance, now we are battling with the Chief Justice whether she should go or she should not go. Even if that happens, and President Mahama appoints another Chief Justice who needs political meaning in that, and that will not yield any report to the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The very last one. Very last one. Very, very last one. Yes,
Thank you very much. My name is Abraham Maham.
let's keep it short.
Okay. Former Center for Peace. So, my interest area is about if you look at it, I think that when we the citizen happen to lose trust in our leaders, then it went way on that there's a fragile camp that conceals our frustrations. And if certain happen, the little peace that we are enjoying within the nation won't be enough to curtail us in the future. And I believe that maybe CDD-Ghana and other CSOs can take it upon that. There's a need for us to still campaign for more accountability issues from our leaders and at least try to remember our people about the need to remain calm and be peaceful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see somebody lobbying for the lady out there. So a lot of people are lobbying for you. So I give the very last one.
Greeners and the weather.
With regards to the study, this is more of a recommendation. With regards to the study, there's a call to action when it comes to climate change, and a significant majority demanded immediate action from the government to limit climate change. And there are some organizations that are lobbying for climate change and other things, just like KIC Agritech, but they don't have exposure. They have programs all over the country, but they do not get exposure. So, with the call to action, I believe that giving them exposure for most of what they do would be like very, very important for the government.
Thank you. And on this beautiful note, we want to say thank you to all of you. Before I hand over to members of the please keep in mind the house, how the president was how listed. When I was the Another question. All right, so thank you.
Okay, you bring.
We had a very beautiful and interesting discussion today. The issues are not resolved. And it's good. We had an opportunity to identify more gaps in democracy, climate change, and participation in the role of our country. There are interesting questions here. You know, where the academics we can delve into. Are we decentralizing or centralizing? And then patronage at the district assembly level or technical experts. Very interesting question in there. And the one question about the power of the president. How do we dream into it? They don't use it in a capricious way that affects the integrity of the country. So I think it's very interesting thing. As we said, when the babies will wrapping up, people can indicate how people can get documents to read, and whether there are opportunities for further engagements if people are interested in some aspects of your work and want to send you the concept for publicity. So all of them, thank you very much. I would look forward to more to contribute and do some work on issues that affect our country. We appreciate your contribution. Thank you. Back to you.
Think our questions before. So how effective administration? As I said, our sample starts from the premise every citizen 18 years and above to have an equal chance of being heard. That said, we use a scientific method to select who the citizen is. So we start our sample working with Ghana Statistical Service. If it is not the year of census, like in 2022, the census had just finished, so we use the census data population for our sample. In 2024, is years after census. So we work with them, they give us an official population projection. That is where it starts from. Then the distribution of the population across the region. Then we use that, we have a sample of 2,400, so we use that to distribute our sample. After we are done, we go back to them, and they use the scientific method to randomly select places that we would go, and what they call enumeration areas. So if you remember that during the census, they came around numbering the houses that they are in blocks that they are going to count. So they have, their enumeration areas have different levels. So we have where a whole community can be an enumeration area depending on the population. Two communities or even more can come together to be an enumeration area. And we also have the enumeration area that consists of one community that has a lot of enumeration areas in it because of the population. So they randomly select this enumeration area based on the population, urban, rural population distribution, and based on the regional distribution of our population. The next step is getting to your respondent, right? So the enumeration area means the citizens within that randomly selected place. Anybody who is 18 years and above is qualified to be interviewed. But, of course, you can't just walk and meet anybody. So, first of all, how many FRAs are here? How many explain? First of all, you when you get to your community and do the necessary protocol, with the help of Ghana Statistical Service, because they give us a map. So they even tell us where that starting point would be. That gives you a central location to be able to randomly select. So we also have a working pattern for which to get to select a household. When you select a household, as I mentioned earlier, the only purpose thing is 50% male, 50% female. So you alternate your interview. So if you enter a certain household and you are to interview a male, you get to know the number of males that are 8 years and above. And there's another technique to select randomly one person that's 8 years and above to be interviewed. The only time somebody is not interviewed, of course, is the person is not of sound. So that person cannot give you the response that we need. So we don't say because you're not educated, we don't understand the issue, right? And to rural population, urban population, regional distribution. To the thing of CDD-Ghana should do more, and CDD-Ghana is doing a lot. And as my sister from Tamale said, we just don't do research independently. Actual fact, we do a lot of advocacy. We do a lot of advocacy at the both at the national level and at the local level. We do a lot of accountability and then building capacity of citizens to also demand and hold individuals accountable, both at the local level. So if we have the local government portfolio that works a lot at the local level, we have our social accountability portfolio that works at the local level. It depends on the issue. We do a lot on anti-corruption. We do a lot of constitutional review. Even the local government election, we just talked about the if only I think some of you will remember when in 2019 when they were pushing for that election. If you will remember, CDD, I was at the forefront of this push. Right. So we do a lot. If you check our website, you see the work we have done on anti-corruption. You see the work we have done on constitutional review. You will see a lot of work we have done on local governance. You see a lot of the work we have done on accountability and a lot of other issues. So CDD just don't do research. As I mentioned earlier, research informs a lot of our work. And why we do research is because we want citizen voices in the space of advocacy. We want citizen voices in the space of politics. We want citizen voice in governance. So we want to be able to create a space where citizen voices will be heard. So our research allows for that, and especially our survey. We only don't do survey, opinion polls. We equally do qualitative research as well. And somebody was talking of one village, one dam. We actually did a study. I'm trying to remember the community name, but we did a study in the northern, where the one village, one dam was, and we're doing an evaluative study. And some of the issues we are needed to is very true. The dams, some of them look like football fields. The dams that really hold water are dams that were rehabilitated. So the dam already existed, either that by the community, and then through one village, one dam, they were able to de-seal if they still hold water. But most of the dams that were actually started from scratch, some of the dams that the community actually requested for an expansion, they have the dam, they have done it themselves, and they want an expansion. Due to the expansion, the walls broke because they didn't get investment. So we do a lot. I can stand here and mention different things that we have done. But these things are to inform. These things are to evaluate what the government has done and what they think about it. So they can inform a lot of discussion and policy reforms. Because if we don't do that, it will not work. That said, for information, CDD website have a lot. On our web. For Afrobarometer surveys from round 1 to round 10, you can get information both on CDD and Afrobarometer website. In this current survey, our summary of results for all the questions that we have been published. So you can even get access to that, all the questions that were, you can get the summary of results on the Afrobarometer website. I also mentioned that we just don't do this. We also do the dispatches, the policy briefs, we do the waiting papers. Afrobarometer have that on their website. The one thing I didn't mention is the data is freely available. The data is freely available from round 1 to the parent round. It's on the website, the Afrobarometer website. There's an online analytical tool you can actually use and do your analysis, or you can just write there's a place you can request for the data. You can just request, use the form, complete the data will be sent to you. Now, if you want to publish whatever you write, you can actually publish it on Afrobarometer. So you write, you request for the data you write, you send it to them, and then they can publish for you. The only usual thing is that when we do a first survey, the country that does the survey, the institution that is the survey have the first mandate to write and disseminate the using the data. So usually the 1 year is given before somebody can actually take the data and write. But academia, you can pick, anyone can pick, not just the policymakers can access the data. It's very free and available for every body to use. Thank you so much. And I should add that to CDD, apart from Ghana, we manage the African West Africa and the North African. So thank you so much for coming. This really the aim was to bring the data down here, not always in Accra, to give the opportunity for a dialogue around these issues and to inform policy. And I hope we have been able to do that, and that it doesn't end here. With the policymakers, with the CSOs, with the academia, we'll do more. And I hear the academia saying more research, and that I am for. We should use this as a basis for more research, because this is an opinion survey, and there are just follow-up questions we can really research on. Thank you all so much for spending the time with us and for the wonderful discussions we have had today. Very positive.
Yeah. You can end the live.